Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. Heath Cummings has got rid of Pete Prisco after destroying him and named that player. And so Adam Azer will join us now here as we break down the roster trends of the moves that you made on Tuesday night. And that can impact some of the moves that you might be making on Wednesday as we show you the most added, most dropped, and most traded players. Remember, trade deadline is getting very close in a lot of leagues. So if you're going to make trades, make them now. So, Adam, let's take a look at the most added players here from the moves on Tuesday night on CBSSports.com leagues. And no surprise, D'Onta Foreman among the most added players. Same thing with Cam Newton. See some kickers, some DSTs as well. A.J. Dillon flying up the roster percentage ranks as well. Same with Ramondre Stevenson. But let's talk about the Titans' backfield. So, Adam, we don't know if it's going to be D'Onta Foreman as the lead guy. Could still be a lot of Adrian Peterson and Jeremy McNichols. But it's a good spot for them to lean on Foreman because the matchup is good. Revenge game factors there because he played at Houston to start his career. Is Foreman going to be the best running back for the Titans coming out of Week 11?
The only thing that would prevent that would be if Adrian Peterson continues to get the goal line work. But otherwise, D'Onta Foreman, not only could he be the best running back for the Titans, but I really think he is an absolute must-add and could be a real difference maker in fantasy. It's just rare to see a player, get this opportunity in an offense that could be so good, that runs the ball so much. The main three running backs in the Titans' backfield have combined for 22 and 23 carries in their last two games. If we can get up to 15 carries a game for D'Onta Foreman, and I really don't think that's out of the question, and maybe 2 catches or something like that, you could be looking at a guy that's a borderline must start. So you absolutely must add him, and I think he's an okay start this week. I'm only worried about the goal line work. I feel very confident he's going to rush in a more effective way than Adrian Peterson. And the Texans have played 9 games. They've given up a touchdown to a running back, a rushing touchdown to a running back in 7 of those 9 games.
I mostly agree with everything Adam said, which is rare. But I think there's a couple more concerns in that if Adrian Peterson gets the first drive and the Texans' defense is really bad and Peterson gets off to a good start, that could result in Peterson getting more work than we would like for him to later in the game. The other question I have, and I don't know this because I don't have the narrative order in line, but this is a revenge game for D'Onta Foreman, but a homecoming game for Adrian Peterson. I'm not sure which one of those outweighs the other.
Yeah, very true. I don't think he probably expected to. No, they're playing in Tennessee, right?
Oh, because it's against Houston, but not in Houston.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so definitely Foreman. Foreman's fine.
You got to be playing in your hometown.
Okay,
right.
All right, we're good.
Start Foreman.
You threw me off there. All right, so we like D'Onta Foreman. You like him the best, though, still, of the guys this week.
I like him better than Peterson and McNichols. He's not a top 30 guy, but he's in the top 36.
Right, okay, he's a top 30 guy for me, so I'm expecting him to be at least a flex option in this matchup. All right, let's talk about the Patriots backfield. We told you at the beginning of the show, Damien Harris practiced on a limited basis, so trending in the right direction, but we just don't know what his status is going to be dealing with the concussion. So, Adam, give us your take. Ramondre Stevenson, Damien Harris, if both play, who's the best Patriots running back against the Falcons on Thursday night?
I think you got to go with Damien Harris. We have not seen a game where both have played and Ramondre Stevenson has been the lead guy. That has been Harris. You got to expect a rushing touchdown. The Falcons give up a ton of them. The Patriots get a ton of them. Damien Harris scores almost every time he takes the field. So I think Harris is a guy that you should feel pretty good starting. I think Heath is not going to agree with me on this one, but I like Harris enough to start him as an RB2, and I would try to sit Ramondre Stevenson if both guys play.
He actually did agree with you, so a big surprise there. That's how we started the show. Heath saying that he'd go with Damien Harris if Stevenson plays. We just didn't factor in one thing, Heath, and that's Brandon Bolden. So if there is no Harris and it's Stevenson and Bolden, do you like Bolden as maybe a flex play, knowing that he's worked in the passing game, although this doesn't feel like a game where they're going to use him very much in that role?
Yeah, I think because if there's no Harris, I think you'll probably get 4 or 5 carries from Bolden, and you'll probably get 3 or 4 catches. And the Falcons are still, as they always have been, bad against pass-catching running backs. So I think as a full PPR flex, Bolden's not a bad one.
All right, so again, we'll see what happens. We'll have that answer for you as soon as we get it here on CBS Sports HQ, CBSSports.com for your fantasy lineups in regards to the Patriots backfields with Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Darnell Mooney's coming off a strong game prior to the bye for the Bears. They had a bye in Week 10, but in Week 9 scored twice against the Steelers. We know he's been basically the best receiver for the Bears the entire season, but certainly since Justin Fields has taken over and has started to play well. Adam, in terms of Mooney, factor in Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet. Looking at this matchup against the Ravens, which has been very favorable to opposing pass catchers, does Mooney have a chance to help fantasy managers this week? Are you going back to Allen Robinson? Where's your take on this and Cole Kmet as well?
I'm not going back to Robinson. I think that this would be a better matchup for Mooney, and here's why. You say the Ravens have been a favorable matchup, and that has felt like the case to me as well. They just gave up 80-plus yards to 2 Dolphins wide receivers not named Jalen Waddle or Will Fuller. But when I looked at it, there's still only 3 wide receivers who have scored more than 14 PPR fantasy points against the Ravens. Why is that? They give up the 8th fewest catches to wide receivers, but the most yards per catch. They have allowed the 2nd most pass plays of 40-plus yards, the 3rd most pass plays of 20-plus yards, and they lost their starting safety to Sean Elliott a few weeks ago, and they've already played a few games without him and really struggled. So they've got some communication issues on the back end that we saw against the Dolphins. So this is a team that gives up big pass plays. It makes me a little bit more excited about Darnell Mooney, but ultimately, Justin Fields I think he's only thrown 4 touchdowns this season. So that is always going to lower the ceiling for Mooney. That's why, to me, he's nothing more than a wide receiver 3 until we see a little bit more consistent play from Fields. But I do think this is a better matchup for him than Robinson because he's more likely to get a big play.
I mean, we did see Robinson, the last big play the Bears made was to Allen Robinson down the right sideline. So I'm not certain. I do favor Mooney over Robinson. If Robinson was on the waiver wire, though, I would want to add him just to see what it looks like coming out of the bye, because I have a hard time believing that they went through the bye week and didn't say, we do need to find some way to get the ball to Allen Robinson more.
Bye week, regular week, just has not been working for Allen Robinson. So good luck if you are still starting him, but the upside certainly favors Darnell Mooney. And as Adam mentioned, Justin Fields only 4 touchdown passes on the season. But we did see Mooney run one in against the Steelers, so that helped his fantasy production. So maybe that's something that they add another wrinkle to his game as well.